Good afternoon. Alan here with my cow eyeball dissection. This was actually pretty interesting, and it was far more interesting than I actually thought it was going to be. I thought the brain was going to be as I expected, but this one was pretty interesting. As I started cutting back the layers and peeling back, I didn't realize that I could see everything quite so clearly in the eye. I really enjoyed this dissection. Um, as you can see here, I've got my four different parts that I've pulled apart here. I've got my anterior portion of the eye, my anterior cavity, my posterior cavity here. I've got my lens, my iris, and my pupil right here, and then I've got I was able to get out the vitreous humor and kind of separate that, and I'll kind of go through each one of these. But let's start here with our anterior cavity and our anterior portion. So right here is the nice easiest one, right? That cornea is just that front layer. Let me get my tool here, right? The cornea, which is I cut, and right behind that cornea sits that aqueous humor, and all that juice was expelled as I made that incision right through there. And then I found it interesting, the inside, right? And you can see the sclera. So the sclera is that fibrous material right inside here, right through there. And then I was able to pull the iris and the lens, and there's my lens, which was really surprising at how firm the lens was. And then I've got my iris, and the hole is the pupil, and that's what dilates and opens back up. So as I put it back together, that sits right in there, just like that, and that creates our lens, our iris, our pupil. And the cornea is that outermost layer that allows the light to pass through. All right, and the sclera is that hard fibrous area right there. So moving on here. So here, and it's starting to leak out a little bit, but our vitreous humor, you can see, with still has some retina still kind of attached to it, but it's gelatinous. It's kind of leaking out, but it's pretty interesting that I was able to pull all that out. I didn't think I would be able to. Around to our posterior cavity here. All right, we've got our posterior cavity, and you can see the retina, still with some vitreous humor, and I'll take that out right there. But the retina is right there, that almost paper thin like substance, and it's attached right at the back, and that is the optic disc. And you can see the colored substance, which I thought was really interesting, that choroid. That colored substance is really cool. It just looks pretty awesome at the back of that eye, and it's to help kind of make it very opaque, so that way the image isn't distorted. And as we flip it over here, I was able to cut back most of the fat, but you can see the optic nerve right there. So that retina goes into that optic disc, which then turns into the optic nerve, and that runs all the way back to the brain. All right, all in all, pretty fun dissection. I thought this one was pretty cool. I think that's all my anatomical structures, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.